warm welcome to another edition of To The Point. On the show this week, a man who's revolutionized Malayalam film cinema and has changed the landscape of South Indian films. I welcome filmmaker, scriptwriter, director and producer Adoor Gopalakrishnan. Welcome, sir, on To The Point.
Thank you.
Let me begin by asking you with the recent letter which you have written to the Information and Broadcasting Ministry seeking a fair selection process as far as the national awards are concerned. What made you really write that letter?
Because unfortunately, people who are in charge of the conduct of the national awards and also Indian Panorama, they seem to be totally unaware of what these are meant for, why these institutions have been set up. During Nehru's prime ministership, in the 50s, there was a committee appointed under the chairmanship of S.K. Patil to study the problems facing the Indian cinema. Why is it so backward in quality? This was the prime theme they had. He and his team was to go into the details and propose ways and means of improving things in the Indian cinema. So one of the first proposals was to start an international film festival. That's how the International Film Festival of India came into being. Then the next was to institute national awards, national film awards, with a view to have films made without compromise to commercial concerns, but films truly Indian in terms of aesthetics, in terms of its social relevance, in terms of all technical standards and all that. So the very best in every respect. It will be truly Indian, and at the same time, it will have an international.
But Mr. Gopalakrishnan, your letter hints at the composition of the jury, or it hints at the quality of films which are coming in.
I'm coming to that. So, see, so yearly you have to select films from amongst the maybe 100 or 200 films will be submitted for selection. Out of that, you have to choose one film as the best. And the award will be given for the best film, and another award for best director, and awards for the artists and other technical crew. So this is the process. So when a committee is appointed with someone who doesn't believe in this kind of cinema, or who does not have an idea about what is good cinema, who does not have an idea about what is in the international trends in cinema,
okay,
so they cannot make a judgment. So many of the films they are lost on these juries because they have never been familiar with this kind of cinema. So what they think, it is all singing and dancing and telling you an emotional story in a very loudest way, and very what you call it looks very glitzy and glamorous and this and that. That is what cinema is. That is their idea about it. But then Indian cinema is, from Satyajit Ray's time, we have been producing excellent films without compromise, without making concessions to the box office, films of real worth. So the idea of the National Award is to show the rest of the nation and also the people in the film industry, when a film is chosen, it is directly telling them, look, here is the standard that we are proposing for the rest of the cinema in India.
But Mr. Gopalakrishnan, earlier, in the yesteryears, we saw that the meaningful cinema really got its due.
Yes, most of the time. There were misses also.
Right, but now the trend has completely changed.
Yes.
Do you think that this is becoming a pattern to reject something which is genuine, which is original, which is aesthetic? Is this becoming a pattern?
It is not deliberate. It is sheer, they are innocently ignorant about real good cinema. Because people see, cinema doesn't exist separately. Cinema also means you have to be culturally alive, you have to be well read, you have to be very many things about you. You have to be aware of these things to appreciate good cinema. So just because you have been watching cinema, that doesn't make you refined.
But if you say that the jury members are innocently ignorant, so then who composes the jury? What is the composition of the jury?
That is the problem. That is where the importance of somebody in the Directorate of Film Festivals, that is the body which is running these festivals. There has to be someone who is knowledgeable about cinema, who is knowledgeable about filmmakers. It is very important. That's why these people are sent out to festivals, to attend festivals, to see the other festivals being done elsewhere, All these are their lessons.
So have you heard a reply, or have you got a reply from the Information and Broadcasting
No,
Ministry?
he must have just received it. Just two days back, he should have received it.
So
I
are you
dashed it off.
expecting something concrete to happen after you've written a letter, you've pointed out the problem?
You never know, because sometimes you don't even get a reply because they think everything will go the routine way. But I also wanted the people, the rest of the nation to know this is what is happening. Nobody would do this, because nobody else I know they will do it, because they will think that you will make enemy of the government or people in charge. They are scared of that, because at my age I cannot be afraid of these things.
You're not afraid that your films probably will not see the light of the day probably, and you're not scared?
Not at all, not at all. I make films because I am a filmmaker. I did not jump into it, out of sheer fancy, that I should become a director. Not like that. I have taken I joined the Film Institute long back in 1962. I belong to the second batch of the Film Institute graduates. So I have studied cinema, I know what it is, and I keep abreast of what is happening around the world. I attend festivals as jury member, sometimes chairing the juries, and all this. I keep myself very, very fresh with what is happening.
But if this pattern, or if this trend of having an unfair selection procedure at the national awards continues, are you scared somewhere down the line that the meaningful cinema, or rather the filmmakers, will get demoralized, will get demotivated?
That is what is happening, believe me, that is what is happening. So I know very, very young people who don't, happily, they don't make compromise. They make the kind of films they make. It may not be great classics that they are churning out, but then what is important is there are young filmmakers who are doing offbeat films, and they find selections abroad in other festivals, but not in India. This is a very travesty of the things. It's very unfortunate that it should happen. So I just wanted, because the secretary of the ministry being the appellate authority, I wanted to complain to him. This is what is happening. Maybe you are not aware. These people they must be senior bureaucrats, but they are not necessarily well versed in what is happening in cinema. So somebody has to tell them this is what is happening. The ministries may not be aware. Each ministry is given at least 10 ministries. Now they have no time to concentrate on
But
these
Mr.
things.
Gopalakrishnan, your letter is actually a symptom of a larger problem,
Exactly.
and which has got to do things with creativity. Things with the filmmakers are coming out with a certain piece, and they are not given their proper due. So do you think that the earlier governments have been taking creativity seriously, and now that the present government is not taking it seriously, has it got to do something with that?
I don't say that it is because of the present government. Okay. There has to be a regular slide. Okay. This has been going on. Even with the earlier governments, it was not a rosy picture either. It has been sliding down. Now it has come to the very bottom. So it is time to now get up and shake up and then look at things. That's why I am not against any government. Let it be any party, any government. I am not concerned about it. But then people who are handling these things should be aware of things. They should have the knowledge to deal with these things, or else they should make proper consultations. No, nobody stops them from doing consultations with the right people. You should not consult the wrong people. That's again very important.
You have also mentioned in your letter that the degrees of the jury members, and that should become public.
Not degrees, how they are qualified to be sitting on these juries. Okay. It's not a degree or MA or PhD, or I don't mean that. I mean how well they are qualified, okay. How much of equipment they have to sit in judgment of very important works of cinema. Now they may be able to decide on like a very common man in the street. They may be able to say this film is bad or good about the commercial ones. There you can do that. But when it's very seriously made cinema, which is a very important work of art, to judge that you have to know you have to have some orientation about films and film aesthetics. If you don't have it, you make wrong selections. You cannot be blamed. Absolutely. The person the authority that is to be blamed is that which selected them, nominated them. They are guilty, not these people. They are very innocently ignorant, as I said, you know. Such ignorant people should not be again be seen in the jury. This has happened twice now, in the nearest period. You know, last year's national awards that went to the blockbusters, and it is not even a good film.
And the best film and the best director went to the commercial films
Not
only.
only that, several other awards. Naturally, they were teaching a lesson. Actually, there also, I'm nothing against commercial films, provided they are good films. Now, you may spend 400 crores, but then you may make a bad film. No, it's not the amount of money that you put in. So I'm not against a film becoming popular and becoming commercially successful. In fact, we all think about becoming successful.
I hope the government of India watches this interview while you speak and they take some action as far as the selection procedure is concerned. But Mr. Gopalakrishnan, let me come on to another aspect of films, and that is censorship and certification. What are your views really on censorship and certification? A lot has been said, and especially in the last 2 years, we've seen several films.
I can tell you from my experience. In 1979, there was a committee appointed under Dr. Karanth, Shivaram Karanth. And we were all members of it. Shyam Benigal, Mrinal Sen, myself, a couple of other filmmakers, GPCP, and I think Mr. B.R. Chopra. We were all members of that committee. And a certain number of jury members, committee members in the thing, we were for abolishing censorship. We started discussing it. Then everybody agreed, almost agreed. Then Mr. Chopra and Ravan Sagar, they took a view that, look, we need censorship because the censor certificate saves us from many litigations.
Okay, so you see censorship as some kind of a security cover as well
for them,
for the films?
For them. That is what they thought.
In times of crisis?
No, always. They say that, see, there is so much competition in this industry. Somebody can go to the court and on some flimsy reason and say, look, this kind of scene is there in the film, it should be stopped. So you can jeopardize the other person, the project itself. So we thought, well, this is a good reason. That is the only reason why we said, okay, let it continue.
But do you think that in a democratic setup like India is not a dictatorial regime or a totalitarian regime. In a setup like India, do you think that censorship really can thrive as a concept?
It's a very wrong concept. There should be censorship. There should not be any censorship in any form, anywhere. Because this is a country where we should allow free opinion, exchange of ideas, because all the ideas may not be the same. In fact, the plurality is the very basis of democracy. We should not be having a dictatorship of the majority. It's very wrong. The minority is also represented by the people. When the numbers may change here and there, that is different.
But Mr. Gopalakrishnan, coming to the censor board as a body, there are a lot of ailments within censor board. People are not happy the way the chairman and the top officials are appointed, the way it constitutes its inquiry. There are a lot of questions being raised on that. And especially whenever the government changes, we have seen that people which are very close to the ideology of the government, they get appointed on those seats. Do you think that justice can be really given to films in case of a scenario like this?
No, when I am against the very idea of censorship, why should I worry about who is censoring? There cannot be a good censorship and bad censorship. Because if they follow the guidelines, it's okay. If that is the rule, let it be there. I never faced any censor problem in my life. No censor has ever asked me to remove this or that. Because I know what is not in the public interest. I should not have it. I should have a sense of decency should be there about what you are saying, what you are showing. So I never had any problem.
Other filmmakers...
But that does not mean there should be censorship. That does not mean that, because I am in terms of ideology, I am against it. On principle, I am against it.
You have been a part of the Films Institute Pune. And last year we saw over the controversial appointment of Mr. Gajendra Chauhan, there was a lot of protest. that he should be removed, he's not a capable guy. We saw so many film stars also coming in protest of their appointment. What do you think? Do you really see that as a cultural issue or a political issue?
I had chaired the institute twice,
Right.
2 times. And others who chaired the institute were Manal Sen, Shyam Benigal, Syed Barsa, Dr. Anandamurthy. I think they have all been very learned people, very liberal people, very people with a vision.
So do you see Gajendra Chauhan's appointment as some kind of a divergence or some kind of a tangent path which the government has taken?
I have been insisting because I think the government have marked me as an enemy because I have strongly opposed the appointment of Gajendra Chauhan, not because he is a nominee of the BJP or any party. I opposed it because I don't mind any party being sending their people there, but then they should be well aware of what is important about the institute, how they should be able to plan the future of the institute.
So you raise questions on his competence, right?
That's all. That's all. Not anything else. I did not even allege that government is politically interfering. Nothing of the sort. I don't see any. It is simply a wrong selection. But I think people concerned in the government, they took it as a issue, a prestige issue, But that is not democracy. That is not democracy. Democracy, if there is a question asked about these things, if it is coming in the public domain, they should listen to it, and they should even do consultation. Consultation is a very important part of democratic functioning. If you forget that, you will go for a fall.
Mr. Gopalakrishnan, coming to the National Film Development Corporation, you've been part of that committee which set up the body.
I was also a member of the board.
So do you think that the National Film Development Corporation has achieved the objectives with which it was set?
It did very little, because from the very beginning we had very wrong people in the executive posts. The people who were to execute what we decided as a board of the directors. Whatever we decided, the executive part was annulling it. They kept on negating it. This was what is happening. There used to be long debates about why such and such is not done, why this wrong thing is done. A lot of time was wasted in that, and we got very frustrated. But the chief executive at that time used to have good relationship with the minister. Okay. So once even the minister came down to Bombay to tell us, the board, be kind to her. She's very, very nice lady, etc. It was some kind of a caution given.
But again, the creativity gets impacted because of incompetent people sitting in bodies like these. What is the real solution? Have you given any suggestions to the government as to how you can improve bodies like these? Because there are challenges which have not been met.
Consult people. You have some respect for experience. Okay. People who have, through their life, through their profession, through their contributions, they have proved they can be consulted. You should consult those people. That's what we do, always, in every field. Before I go to see a doctor, I consult my friends, to ask who is a good doctor to examine me.
So that consultation process...
I just don't go to any doctor like that.
So you say that this consultation process is absolutely missing?
It looks like missing, or probably they are consulting the wrong people. Either of that.
Now coming to your film, sir. You have been into this career for the last 50 years. And I have seen your first film, that is the Swayamvaram, and you've made the recent film, that is Pinion. What is the difference which you saw when you made your first film and this particular film? Any point of difference which you would like to share with the audience?
Difference in what? Making the film?
Yes, the entire experience of making that film and this film.
While making this film, I felt my 50 years of cinema experience has gone into it. It's coming from a very mature person, in the sense that he has had all the experience of life, of having lived a life, having engaged with cinema and life in equal measure. So the work will reflect that. Now, this is what I can say.
But Pinion also was your first digital film, right?
Yes.
So,
Digital film means, only the technology is different. But I make the film the same way as I did before. Nothing is different. It has now become a lot more convenient, in fact.
but there are many old filmmakers who are very contemptuous of digital filmmaking. Why is that so?
Because in the beginning, the digital films did not give you the kind of result you wanted. Today it is possible. We are getting a good result.
Do you think, sir, that
It gives you additional advantages also. Like if you want to shoot on a street and it is night. Normally with the optical film of the old days, you will have to light up the whole street to have it exposed. Today you don't need it at all. You can shoot in the real light because the video, the digital medium is capable of picking up details in very beautiful way. So in many ways it has become more convenient, in fact, the new medium.
So how many days did you
I
take?
was very suspicious in the beginning, of
How
course.
many days did you take to make Pinion?
Only 23 days.
Only 23 days. And otherwise, how much time do you take in earlier years on an average?
I shoot a film mostly in one month, within 30 days. This has become more possible because it was mostly on one location. The whole film was happening at one house and very little of outside thing is there. So that is one reason why we could shoot more in a day.
Mr. Gopalakrishnan, many of the critics of your films, they say that your films don't communicate with the common man. Is it really true?
Who is the common man? They think the man who is illiterate, who doesn't read anything, who doesn't have communication skills and all that. Are they the common people? So with all the good education, there are lots of people who have no taste at all. Therefore, the worst kind of cinema, they go and see it, watch it for the first show, and they come out and say it is not good. That is a typical Malayali attitude. They go and appreciate that kind of cinema. Some films, you read in the news, it has collected 50 crores, 60 crores. Who are the people who went to see it? It is the people, common man. But the common man, his taste reflects the culture of a place. It is not one professor of culture of who understands everything and he is cultured. Not like that. We are all common people.
You have been rather critical of commercial cinema, but your films, you have not shied away from casting stars like Mammootty or Madhu or Dilip.
Because they are all very good artists. Yes. So people forget that they are stars, but in Malayalam cinema particularly, they are also very good artists, very good actors. That's why I cast them, and they have always shined in those roles. And,
another thing which has
these artists have won national awards for acting in my films, 6 of them in fact, so far.
Another thing which has been seen in your films is that you don't illustrate too much of killing and torture, but you rather depend on showing the reactions of the people. Any particular thought behind it?
I don't like illustrating anything.
Okay.
I just want to suggest. I want to look at the impact, the effect on people. It's not, illustration is a very common thing, Why do I show somebody being tortured and all that, In fact, it has become an item in these commercial films, the torture of people. The different ways of, in the police language, they say third-degree methods, torturing people and all that. I'm not interested in watching it. I think it is very lowly in taste.
But is it also true, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, that you don't reveal the entire storyline to the actors, and many of them also get miffed at times because of this? Is it true?
No, actually, it's not a question of what the story, end of the story is. I don't ask anybody to read my script because they are already working in different films.
Okay.
So, there is no continuity in their work. Today they may come and work for 3 days, they may run off to another location and act in another film, they come back. So there cannot have any emotional continuity in filmmaking. So the emotional continuity is kept in my mind, not in theirs. Okay. So I tell them what is required of them in a particular scene, explain to them, that's it, not anything more. whether the scene comes in the beginning, end or middle, I don't tell them. It's not necessary. Because they are good artists, they understand what is required of them, and they are acting out to me, not to the audience directly.
What really mesmerizes me and the audience as well is that in your 50 years career, you've just made 12 films, and which is very unlike, you know, the filmmakers which you see in the north or in the Maharashtra. It's like films after films. It's like it's a manufacturing unit sort of a thing. But you have just come out with 12 classic films. So do you really regret and sit back and think that I could have made more films if possible?
Not really. Thank God I did not make many films. It would have been terrible, because I have enjoyed every film that I have made, and every time I have never made any compromises. These things give me a lot of pride and pleasure and satisfaction, because in an industry like this, to make a living out of working in cinema, and then not to make compromise is quite a difficult thing. It's not very easy as one thing.
I'm sure the budding filmmakers who watch this interview will learn a lot from what you have said. Thank you, Mr. Gopalakrishnan, for coming on the program. So that's it on this episode. See you next time with another personality. Goodbye and thanks for watching.